So we have an account, we pay all of our warrants, AP and payroll out of it. We do not have a separate account set up, which houses, if you will, all of our reserve accounts. So all of that reserve account money, we know how much it is because each year at town meeting, voters vote to fund. So we know, and that money in Trio gets moved around, so you can print a report and see what is in those accounts. But in the bank, they are not separated out.
Right.
Interest is not being applied.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be.
Yes.
So my next question is, how much money do we have in the checking account?
Around 7.5,
7.3 right now because. of the
7.3, of course it fluctuates.
Of course,
That checking
yes, yeah.
account. So 7.3, but then we've got to pull 3.4. I think it's 3.4. If we move that money over to the escrow, that
Okay,
escrow account,
that's what-
and you can actually sub-account. So Lisa has actually set up inside the escrow account each, and given the name for each of our reserve accounts. So, and I think you put $1 in, it keeps them open. So money could actually move over, be put into each of those sub-accounts.
At the bank?
Into the sub-accounts, they're named for each reserve account, so the correct amount would move over. And then when that account earns interest, then that would be applied to each of those reserves, each of those sub-accounts. And it would be separate. The money's still available, it's still there, you log in, you see it, but it's separate from that checking account that we're doing payroll and AP warrants out of.
So where was the interest posted before you?
It just
broke
gets
up?
applied to the checking, right? If there's any, I don't, this
I think it's,
not
I think it offsets our,
much.
Well, there is no interest being earned right now.
On the checking, we don't earn
Oh,
anything.
yes, I'm
No,
sorry.
the
on the
checking account.
reserve accounts, where was the interest being posted?
It all,
It's
it
just
all
in the
just,
general account
Yeah.
because we don't have.
like if you have a checking account statement from your bank, each month, you might, let's say, get $1.50, right, in interest, so it just goes into your checking account or whatever.
So
Right.
that's what happened
Same.
with these
Same,
accounts until you broke it up.
they're not broken
Not
up.
broken
not
up.
broken up
I
yet,
thought you just said there.
No, we
They're
can,
named.
but they are not done yet.
right?
You probably need to have a select board meeting before that got approved.
Well, see,
In order
Mike,
to do that breaking up,
right, my question is when it changed, because it used to be that way. So,
I
and,
do-
and
Yeah,
it's before
it
your
was
time.
before- Yeah, it was
Yeah,
before me,
yeah.
yeah.
You know,
So I don't know, but I'm a firm believer that once you know, you're responsible.
right?
yeah, unfortunately,
So-
we're all responsible at this point, we're like,
So.
Right.
I just,
I'm
I feel
glad,
very strongly that you should be doing the right thing.
well, I'm
and-
glad because I was a little worried because the last meeting when we left. Here, we thought there was only like $3 million, three something.
Well,
million in-
If you've got 7.3 and you pull 3.4,
Right,
right, you're down to 4.
yeah.
What, so I thought I understood you to say that she has separated them now.
Well, she's created the sub-accounts
In the
So-
bank,
think of an umbrella. And
Yeah.
underneath the umbrella are little sub-accounts.
Right.
And each one is a reserve account, and
But,
it's me.
are they gonna tell you in each one of those how much interest they earned? Or is it?
Okay, but Penny, I have no money in them.
Yeah,
Right, but if we
I've
move,
created the account. But I have not moved any of the money in because I don't have authority to move any money in.
So when you say you created the account, did you create the account at the bank or in your books?
At the bank.
It's at the bank
it's already created in our books, Trio.
and yes, the books have already been there. In
Yeah.
Trio.
Mhm.
What you're
Well-
really talking about is just a good, solid accounting process. Keep things that are restricted, segregated
Yeah,
from the general fund.
agree.
Yeah, otherwise you can inadvertently spend it.
Well, we kind of made a mistake last year at town meeting, we took too much money out of the general fund. Cause we did a $500,000 to public works, and it should never happen. That was a mistake,
Is that in our reserve now?
that is.
There is a public works reserve account with 500,000 in it, yes.
Right.
We have two, one is for like paving, which we've
Right.
got 800 and, I think there's 888,000 in there. And that's used for the 3-year paving plan. And then we bond out whatever else we need, I believe that's what's been done in the past.
Yeah,
So on a 3-year cycle in 2025, we should be paving again. So the road committee has met, come up with a list of roads, met with our road commissioner and all of that to recommend what roads. Got a estimate cost, so
Right.
we know, we have some idea of what that will be. I mean, you don't know for sure until you put it out to RFP, but you
Right.
know, you
So-
have some idea.
right, and so my next question is, can we afford to take this year's capital reserves out of the general fund, or do we need to raise and appropriate?
I can't tell you what to do. If it were me, my recommendation would be to tax
That's,
and
that-
not take it out of the
that's my
general.
recommendation, but.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Okay.
That's a hard decision.
It's a hard decision but you just was following suit how it had been going years past, taking it from general fund. You can only take so much money out of that general fund until it's no longer there.
Right.
And we're defeating the purpose, now we're borrowing money, costing us money. When we, to get it through, lump through 3 or 4 months of our season.
Right.
So
And
this is-
figure we've taken in most. I don't know what the percentage is, but most of our tax monies. So we won't get a large sum again until next July,
Right. You
June,
just,
July,
Really August.
August.
you get
So-
your excise, you may,
We get some every month.
you're.
We do.
1,000 in excise,
But there won't be that large sum, so when we think in terms of an account right now, 7 million, and if we were to pull the reserve account. Portion out, that leaves you around 4, right? So even though you're bringing in some every month. You've got that money and that, whatever, that's gonna take you, right, until next June, July, August?
Yeah,
When we send out tax bills
And
again?
Is that enough? Takes us that long?
No,
no,
we would have to borrow, we will have to borrow from the TAN.
We're
But
gonna
if
have
we-
to borrow this year from the
I
town.
believe that we will,
yes,
That's what it sounds.
unless we're really creative. Yeah, I don't think there's any way around it. I think we will have to. I did some just quick, right?
and I'm
What
kind of
we
doing some
bring in
math
month
for,
by month, I did 3 years.
Yeah.
Of history, what revenue is, what expense is, and, projected 2025, just using some of those numbers, and so you come up with a few months where you would need to pull money from the TAN in order to meet, those obligations.
Now you're saying if we tax these reserve accounts, we won't have to have the TAN?
If we tax them, no, not saying that.
no,
So what, so. the-
only way you get away from not having the TAN is you leave the capital reserves where they are now. That's how we've been able to get out of it, so we've had that extra
Yes.
3.4 million, yes, 3.4 million dollars set in the checking account.
Didn't we add those up?
And so
did.
they actually dipped into that money on a temporary basis
Basis to run the town,
in order to keep the checkbook.
correct,
Without a TAN?
without a TAN.
Well, without a TAN, but what they're doing is they're spending money that is restricted
Yeah,
Right.
and that's a no-no.
Right.
Right, and if we,
And now we know,
but if we have a tan, then we're gonna get,
we're gonna pay interest.
You do pay interest, and using TANs are very common.
oh, I know.
In
I used to
municipal-
be treasurer.
It is,
How much we spend on interest in a year using TAN?
we have not borrowed from it for the last couple of years, so, I.
So
think-
you're more, you'll pay tax.
Correct, we pay legal fees to get it set up, that's what
How
you
much are the
see,
legal fees?
about 3,500, between 35 and 4.
So if you look at the town budget,
I-
$4,000 is
nothing.
not an overly significant amount.
4 million. Is,
Well, yeah, but you're not paying 4 million to set it up, right?
oh, no, 4,000, I'm sorry, I wasn't following you. I think the current rate, I wanna say the current interest rate on the TAN we have this year, which we haven't pulled from, is 5.51%.
So you only pay interest on the amount that you use.
Correct, it's kind of like I call it like a
Right,
line
right.
of credit,
Yeah, that's
Right.
basically what it is.
right?
Yeah.
Cause you're not paying unless you use it,
What happens at the end of it if you haven't used it?
Nothing.
nothing.
You just pay
your
that
attorney-
legal fee and that's
Yeah,
it.
illegal fee,
Right,
and that's
pay
it.
the legal fee to get it set up.
And it's not in our bank account either, it's in there.
No,
It's
it's
in
not.
theirs. You don't draw any.
You know, I give a lot of thought to this thing, same thing, Penny.
I'm sorry,
I give a lot of thought to the same thing. I'm not beating up and getting a tan. But the thing about doing the tan is that it's an easy way to keep the books clean and correct. So it's, it can be cumbersome when we start, digging in this pond and digging in this pocket to make up for the year. And then we have to explain the public all about it. So it really gets, quirky. It's better just to do that, I don't care, I don't even need it, and we pull from that, and it's all clean. Oh, we end up needing this much money, and this much tax we pay on it, and that's it. And there's always one stop, one bank, one stop. Not having to mess around with, and then you have to decide which one you're gonna pull from. You know, I don't know,
But,
I give a thought to it.
but a part of the problem with what we were doing is that we were actually using money that the town had appropriated for another purpose
Correct.
in order to fund the town's operations. And the town has not said that we could do that. And I don't think that we're even allowed to ask the town, because we said, this is the reserve for this other purpose. We kind of went through that with, some of the money. Remember, we had to like put it in the general fund, and then we had to do something else with it. Last year, I think that's what we were talking about doing, on
The public
the
works.
public works.
But it ended
Oh,
up
yes.
staying.
Yeah, so we were gonna pull it out of the public works account and put it back into the undesignated or general fund.
Well, you put it in the general fund, and then the idea was
To
that we
pull
would
it
move it
and
over
do-
to
yeah.
the road, so we wouldn't have to take out as much of a bond.
Right, but
But-
that didn't.
But
work.
you get to the town meeting, and it's a complicated enough process that as I recall, I think we did like half of it, but not the other half.
Well, they voted to keep, that got voted down to pull it out, put it into the general fund. And then the next warrant article to fund roads with 500,000. Assuming one article was gonna pass and we pull it out, but it didn't pass, so it stayed.
So we took
But then the next article did pass.
Yeah.
And so we ended up taking 500,000 out.
$500,000 more than what we really had to
Right.
spend.
Right. But that, to me, that happened that way because the process was convoluted.
Yes,
People
well,
didn't understand what we
Yeah,
were trying to
yes.
do.
well, and Scott wasn't, so it was kind of Scott's fault that happened, but Scott thought that our capital reserves were in a separate account or accounted for, didn't realize that was still part of that big lump of general.
Right, I think someone had,
Oh,
I think someone said we had like $8 million
Yeah,
in
Yeah, it was
our
Scott.
general fund, but that's not true.
right.
So,
I recall this differently, it's funny, because I recalled, Mr. Iski.
Tom,
Tom,
Oh, yes.
yeah, I cannot pronounce his last name, sorry, Tom. So Tom was the one that made the motion to keep that money where it was.
Yeah.
right,
Because
yeah,
he has a long-term vision, I mean, this, you gotta understand, this guy was in the Navy and all this kind of stuff, that closer than later, this town is gonna need a pool works.
Right.
And it's in his mind.
That's. in
So,
his mind.
so messing around with that money and, you're taking it out where it was parked was not a good idea. And,
In
of
his
all the,
vision.
huh?
In his vision.
In his vision.
Right.
So he convinced the town to keep that money parked where it was.
Right.
And a lot of us were not happy about that.
One big lump sum did he think would earn more interest? Is that his? reason?
no, he just didn't want the money, he wanted us to buy some property.
Yeah.
Right.
So the concept is that if that money would have just, that account would be eliminated, meaning that the concept of having a pool works would be eliminated. If in a pinch, we need a pool works, we're gonna be scrambling like we were last year, figuring out where to get the money. That was his thought. And when I was in the meeting, I was not very happy with him. But when I went home and I thought about it, I said, you know what? In the long term, it makes sense.
It's sure you had done the 500,000 when it comes to the people. That's where the mistake happens when it, if it stayed there, then we should have made, Scott should have said, no, we're all good for that 500,000 when we weren't. But
Yeah.
that wasn't Scott's fault either, because he assumed that the accountant was, that it was in a separate account or a separate,
Because it was supposed to be,
right?
yeah.
It used to be, I don't know when it got changed, like I said, it's way before Warner's time of the deadline, I think it was before Anthony's time. Maybe it switched when
I really
Anthony's,
don't
I'm
know.
not sure. But I know when Pam, the treasurer Pam Tracy, when she was treasurer, it was in separate, literally separate bank accounts. And then when CDs were paying a lot of money back then, she would find out, check with the department head, say, are you planning on spending that capital reserve this year or in the next 3 years? And if they said no, she'd say, okay, well, I'm gonna invest that money into CDs and
Right.
collect that back, but that came back to haunt us because
Needed the money.
when she left, the next treasurer
You know,
and town manager didn't know that, and all that money went into the general fund.
Oh, no.
And we used that money to offset taxes.
Oh, no.
And part of that was a lot of that was cemetery portfolio money.
but all these things have to be well documented somehow, so somebody has a.
So,
a book
so,
to read
but
about.
she retired, so when the next one came
They're
in,
turning white.
it's
Lisa
like,
knows better than to do that, I can tell.
it's like, it's a good idea, and it made, when the CDs are up, she made a lot of money
Mm.
interest wise for these capital reserves and these, like the portfolios, they made a lot of money, but when she retired. Of course, there's a new town manager, new treasurer,
Oh, dear.
and they had no clue.
So no institutional memory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too bad that, those CDs weren't labeled. Yeah, that's another way to do it, right? I mean,
You can do it
even
without
if it's like
something,
on the name of the CD,
fire department, or
Yeah, fire department.
library, or, So,
Then you end up doing a lot of CDs though.
Right.
So,
and she had a lot of CDs,
she did.
yeah, there was a lot out there. So, where we wanna start, now we have a forum.
All I had, left that you all had wanted to discuss was, those reserve accounts, and then if you had any other questions or anything else,
So
so.
reserve was the biggest thing. You sent in the email this morning, I haven't had a chance to really open up and digest it, but, public safety, that education, what was that education for? You just said public safety.
I found two errors, one in general government, the number was just wrong. It was, two errors, because I looked back at the beginning of our meetings and found the correct numbers and somehow going in and updating budget line items because you can't. There, when you go in Trio to update budget request, it does not have any text where you input numbers. It just has the numbers, like department, division, expense, object. That's all it has is a number, and then over beside it is a dollar amount. So two spots I found where an amount for the request in the budget had been entered, but it was on the wrong line item. So I found those when I was reviewing it yesterday morning and checked when I came in this morning. Said, yes, those are not correct, so we corrected them, so I sent you out those corrections.
Yeah.
So on,
That's all that
yeah,
was.
so on the public safety, what?
It
is
was a,
Education on
yeah,
which department though?
it was ACO, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
For some
Okay.
reason, it had $463. It flagged, it was a flag to me when I was going through line by line. And I said 463. I couldn't remember that figure and I thought that's really strange. It's an odd amount. So when I came in this morning, I pulled up one of our first meeting and looked, and it was 150, I think, or 100. So we knew that that was an error.
I just wanna make sure it wasn't the fire and
Yeah.
rescue, because I know that one was $5,000, I'm like,
No.
okay.
No, that was, no, it was
Okay.
just the two line items that just had, the wrong numbers put in. So we corrected those, so that's what you got. via
Okay.
email.
Anybody have any questions on them?
I'm good.
Well. When I look at the public safety, just the summary page here, that's where it says the reserve. It's all,
There should be two reserve requests for public safety, one for the,
Yes, it is on
Fire
that front
station.
page, yeah.
yep, fire
One for the fire
station
truck.
building, and then one for fire truck reserve.
but that's the request, right?
Those are
Yes.
requests, yes,
Yes.
the department has
How much
requested that.
do they already have in reserve? Where do we find
We
that?
must have a list. Did you print a list
I
of
did
reserves?
not.
didn't
I
either.
can.
Is your computer on?
Yes.
Will you print it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I should have thought to ask you to do that before I left.
So I know, we're in the fire department's in the process of speccing a rescue truck and an engine. So, yeah, that's gonna be in excess of, the two of them together, it's gonna be over $1 million.
And it takes forever to get something.
3 years,
Those things don't come cheap.
3 years before, if we order a rescue truck. January, 3 years.
Well, by the time 3 years, how much more will it cost?
That, it won't, but we're
I
locked
know.
in,
But we'll be getting a bargain by that time.
right, yeah, yeah,
Which means the one after that will cost a lot more.
Yeah.
yeah, and the engine, we haven't even. I mean,
Lisa,
we got people coming in
Lisa,
next meeting,
Around here? You got a copy here?
Yeah,
I've got
so do we have, we have our own rescue,
fire department truck reserve
is
is
there,
598. Yeah. So 598,000
okay,
in the truck account.
Yeah.
And fire department building account, we have 592, but we're using that. To offset the 25% of that CDS grant that we've applied for. The CDS grant, congressionally directed spending grant, would provide 75% of the project for the new fire station. And the town would be responsible for 25%.
Yeah.
Which we took to special town meeting
Yeah.
already this year. And that was approved, that passed, so we're good to go there.
The grant has come through.
No, we
it's-
won't, we may know in December, may know in
and we may
spring.
know sooner than that, because it's coming to vote, cause I just saw the
You did?
schedule.
Oh my gosh,
So it's the second thing on their agenda,
when is it, do you know?
I think,
Oh, Bruce, we're
I
gonna
think
have to
next
watch on
week.
TV.
yes, I think it's next week,
Remember.
if they can get through the first thing on the agenda, but
Right,
the first thing on the agenda is,
That's in DC, isn't it?
FEMA,
oh, yeah.
That's in DC?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they did tell us we might know as early as December, or. If things are kind of dragging along, it would be early spring, so that would be a nice Christmas
So
present.
yeah, so because it's a, it's the farm package or the agriculture package, they call it the farm package. It's in that farm package. And so
That's
they
exciting.
want that, so they need that passed before the president goes out, the current president, because that budget is
Mhm.
empty. So, there's certain budgets, I guess, are empty that they
Wow.
gotta fund, plus they gotta fund the government. Before
Yeah.
December. Is it 20th?
January 23rd.
No, it's actually December, but we only funded it to December, so they gotta. Get a budget, some type of budget or a supplemental budget to get them through to,
Yeah,
So if they don't actually take care of that, what they end up doing is they're gonna lay off a bunch of federal employees like a week before Christmas.
Are you serious?
They don't have the money. If there's no money, they can't pay it out. Most of those people get laid off. If they're an essential employee, they have to stay and work and not get paid.
but they all
Still,
get
it gets
hired
pretty
back
tough.
and they get their retro pay, and so they don't lose anything,
Well,
right?
I don't know. I don't know how that, I mean, essential
That's what I'm
employees that actually go to
saying.
work, they get paid. The other people, they have to decide to do that.
Yeah,
And I think they usually do.
Before we keep going.
actually. I kinda did when I was
Yeah.
there, I said, now we have a quorum, so.
Okay. Were there any other reserve accounts that you wanted the balances for?
might be helpful, keep it before you,
Okay.
as we look at these.
Yep, so that, I think, I wanna say last year, didn't we funded both, public safety reserve accounts at 200, didn't we?
Yeah.
I was trying to remember, it would be in the 10 report.
Yeah, it was 200 and it
Yeah.
came, so everybody is aware. And I think we ought to do each capital reserve and vote on it as a budget committee, because we're gonna be going for. Raise and appropriate from taxes, not pull from general fund. Do you agree with that, Honor? or-
Yeah, yeah, I'm right there with you. Do you wanna do the fire station? So that would be the fire building reserve first,
Yeah, we can do that.
okay,
So the fire station reserve, the fire and rescue is requesting a $200,000 to be raised and appropriate from tax dollars.
For the truck, you're talking.
No, this is for a fire station. The fire
Okay,
station
the
the
reserve
building.
Okay, yep,
to put into the fire station capital reserve. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion on that?
Mhm.
If not, all in favor? 4.
Yep.
2 absent, right?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to do the 200,000 on the truck too.
I second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Yep.
And that's
Yeah,
raise
yes.
appropriate.
We're supposed to call it, because we are in Zoom, but that's okay, we all raise our hands.
Yeah, true.
And keep in mind, your list is right on that very first page in your binder, the budget snapshot. On the right-hand side is a box and it says, reserve account request.
Okay, yeah. So the next one,
So these are monies that we're gonna be pulling out of the reserve accounts.
no, this is
No.
monies we're
They're
putting,
going in.
But
is what-
putting
on.
into reserve, yeah, these are requests
so.
to fund, yeah.
So it, before we go too much further, just so everybody has an idea in their head. So everything that's requested to go into reserves is 1.1 million 500,000,
Mm-hmm.
$1,105,000.
$105,000. So
Can I ask a question? What is overlay?
Overlay, when you set the tax commitment, you do that paperwork. Rob will put in all the figures and it gives you a high and a low for what the mill rate can be set at.
Yeah.
And, as you go higher or lower with the mill rate, calculation, it will change the amount of overlay, which is, in excess of,
Of your school,
monies.
your county?
Yeah, I think we, for the past few years have had around a $40,000 to $60,000 overlay.
I've gone on the low side.
Yeah, it's not, we don't usually go super high, yeah, no. And Rob will usually give the select board, a high, a medium, and a low rate to choose from, and he'll meet with them at a regularly scheduled select board meeting, explain it, and then the board will discuss it and choose and set that rate for taxes. Yeah.
So that total at this year's mill rate, what would that be for, what would that change our mill?
Well, you figure. $9, wouldn't be, no, it wouldn't double it. I don't know unless I had the, mill rate calculation sheet out and added to it
Okay,
to
so
see what it would do.
we know what the bottom number is as we're voting on these.
Yeah,
Probably, that's something you're probably gonna need for when we meet with.
yeah,
select
I'll
board.
make a note.
Cause you know, and I know they're gonna ask,
Yeah.
We've been at way too many select board meetings. Okay, so the next request would be cemeteries.
And what's that 20,000 for?
I was gonna ask Lon about.
That is to replace, they've been borrowing a golf cart from the, Kenneth Workman Youth Sports Program, organization.
So that's,
They own one.
that's the equipment replacement capital reserve for the
That,
cemetery?
yes,
Okay,
that would replace, that vehicle which has been returned to that organization and would provide monies for cemeteries to purchase something that could be utilized. I know we we had this discussion at the last select board meeting, they use that golf cart quite a bit, it's quite handy to carry stuff around. Like I know when we went up and planted flowers for Memorial Day, we filled the back of that, we would go and fill the back of that and then drive around and we would all get the flowers and plant them and then fill it up again, and so they're just very handy. And they have that tripod
yeah,
that we bought, which helps to set stones, which is
See, when I-
fairly heavy.
yeah, when I had my UTV, I used to take up and they'd use it in the spring, May.
Yeah,
To flags, flowers,
yeah.
all that.
So something that could be used for that purpose is
So,
the
A
request.
golf cart doesn't cost 20,000, but you're saying whatever.
Some sort of a vehicle that could be used up, whether it's a golf cart or what. They have been using a golf cart because that was what was available that they
Right.
could borrow and, yeah.
Right.
The
Yeah.
UTV actually sounds like the.
Better.
Golf carts don't usually
better
have a lot of, room on the back,
Right,
but the,
yeah,
Yeah.
like a side by side
they've looked at
kind
a,
of thing.
I wanna say a Bobcat, a Gator, I think, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some sort of a, yeah. I
So
don't-
those usually have like a small truck bed on the
Yeah.
back, you know.
I know that tripod is quite heavy, isn't it?
Yeah,
So I got a quick question.
yes,
You asked about mill rate. So the increases here for the budget will be the changes that we have in general fund plus the account reserves request. So how much is our mill rate right now?
I wanna say it's 8.95
I think
off the top of my head. It'd be about 9.
about 9, so we're going up about 14.7%, so that's how much that mill rate is gonna go up. So it's gonna go up about 15%. So it's 9 now, we multiply that by 1.5%, so it's gonna be about 10. You're asking, that's about.
Okay, thank you.
10.3, it's gonna be the new mill rate.
So on the cemeteries, I think, just for you guys clerical, I think you should put, equipment replacement capital reserve. So I thought we had that as a line, already as a line item for that capital reserve, but,
Yes, it just didn't, I wasn't that detailed.
right,
Yeah,
just so,
There.
yeah, so we don't, when it comes to select board, we don't get asked, well, what's this for?
Mhm.
So I make the motion that, we raise and appropriate from tax dollars $20,000 for the cemetery equipment capital reserve.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor? 4-4, 2 absent.
Yeah.
The next one will be facilities truck, $50,000.
And so, previously, facilities had requested a new pickup truck. And it's significant, you're talking 80 to 100,000. And the select board felt that putting enough money in 1 year's time was just too much. And said that it would be better to split it out, more than 1 year. So last year, I think we put 40 in.
I was gonna ask, do you, how much we have in that account? Or in that capital reserve?
We have 47 right now, so I wanna say we put 40 in last year. So they're requesting 50, which would put them at an amount where they might be able to purchase a truck next
When do
year.
they wanna purchase it?
I'm sorry,
When do they wanna purchase?
I would assume once, if it got passed at town
They
meeting,
do
that
it.
they would start, put it
And then
up.
that would drain that,
Yes,
yes. I'll make that motion.
I have a second.
I second it.
Any other discussion on it?
I'm just curious, if the truck comes in at 90,000 and you got 97,000 in reserve, you just leave the 7,000 there until the next time
Yes.
you want a truck?
yes, because it's already,
Appropriated.
yes.
Right,
It's
but-
for a specific purpose inside of a specific account.
Right.
So this is one of them accounts, like the fire truck account. It's a kind of a rolling account because them trucks will have to be replaced every 10 years. That's what our goal is, just like our rescue trucks, 10 years, fire trucks are, the engines are 20 to 30 years. We've been doing 30 and 40 on the tank trucks, but we're stretching them on the trucks now. We've been stretching them just because there's so much.
Was that raise and appropriate, Bruce?
Raise and appropriate from
Okay.
taxes.
So we have a motion and a second.
Yep, and any other discussion? If not, all in favor? 4-4, 2 absent.
I thought you already voted on that one, but
I thought I did too.
I guess.
No, just a motion and a second.
Okay,
So the next one is capital.
That is for, that would be used townwide for all buildings, all facilities, anything that needed to be done. That capital reserve account.
So it's kind of like a building improvements account.
It is let me see if I've got the full name here. I've got facilities, capital facilities truck. So it's facilities capital.
how much is
So
it?
that means painting, repair.
There is 174 in that right now.
I'm
And
afraid if we go to town meeting and with that vague explanation.
so is there anything planned for that?
I asked Corey that, he has specific plans for the cemetery request and the maintenance garage request. And he said that the 100,000 is just generally for all building, projects townwide.
So,
Garage, let's see, the request for the cemetery is to replace the golf cart with something more useful. The garage is to finish up the bathroom and the septic and whatever else is needed. The building account is for continuing the work throughout the town, and the vehicle request is to get that account so we can get a vehicle, so the truck.
Ooh, so you're combining the truck and the capital.
No,
Yeah.
no, the truck is separate.
I know, it didn't sound like it in that, his explanation.
So, and that's just Corey.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
So-
kind of all run together.
Could we have Corey ready to explain?
Yes.
What he wants to do
Sure.
to the different.
Yeah,
budgets?
they're all the departments heads are scheduled, like they came and met with you all.
Yeah,
So, the next two meetings that the select board has scheduled, the 18th and the 26th. Department heads are also scheduled.
but I
so
was
that
wondering
they-
if we couldn't do it at town meeting also.
if it goes through, yeah, they'll have
Yeah.
to be a town meeting, that's it, yeah.
He'll be at town meeting.
Yeah.
And he
And
could
so,
explain.
he's available if there's a question.
Okay.
Yes, of course,
Excellent.
yes.
So I guess I'm gonna throw oil and ointment on this one here, where we don't have anything dedicated that's gonna be coming out of that in the near future, and we already have 147,
174 in facilities capital.
177. I'd like to drop that down to 30. That way there, if 30,000 goes in, that brings that capital reserve to 200.
Mhm.
Did Corey tell us why he wanted 100,000?
I know the trend,
Not specifically, no. I can message him and just ask him.
Before we lower it that much, that's a significant amount. He must have something in mind.
We can.
we can skip that
Yeah,
one,
we
that
can
one.
skip that and see if he
So,
can,
yeah. The next one, is maintenance garage, $10,000. I'll make that motion,
Do you know what that's gonna be for?
believe that's. what
Yeah, right
that-
now they're having a cement slab poured up at the maintenance garage, so it will create a small addition for some storage, that sort of thing, but they're also going to put a bathroom in at some point, because there's no bathroom up there. They've been
It'd only
using,
be, at
they've
this,
been using a porta potty.
right,
Oh.
and they
no.
still have to use porta potty until we have some type of
Water,
water source
Yes,
for
yeah.
winter time, but
It will be a little bit, but if they ever want to do it, they need to get the piping and all of that done. At the same time as the slab, right?
Yeah.
Make room for it
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yes.
So that they're starting that project right now that was approved by the select board. So the 10,000 would help to finish up.
I think
Anything
framing, I
different.
think that's what
Yeah,
that
so.
10,000 is gonna do, frame it and we finish up in the bathroom.
You wanna make that motion?
I think, Bruce, you just did.
I made the
Yeah.
motion for the capital reserve because my part of it ain't coming out of that, my part's coming out of it, what's already in there, so I can do that.
Yes,
So we do need a second.
second?
Okay,
Any other discussion? If not, all in
then
favor?
that will, I'm sorry, that will be raised and appropriate.
Raise and appropriate from property taxes,
Yes. Okay, yep, sorry.
No, no problem.
All
And that was 4-2.
Yeah, 4-2. The next one is roads and paving. So I guess I got a question on this one. That $300,000, that to pave a bond, or is that to go into the capital reserve?
That would go into the capital reserve. Right now, we have 800 and I think we have 888,000 or somewhere near there. We'll use, if we're gonna pave, we would use all of that. We would have to bond some. But if we're on a 3-year paving schedule, if we start putting money into our reserve account now, it will cut down on what we bond the next time. This money we've got in reserve right now is a huge help to reduce what we have to bond.
So,
Don't have to, but
Wait,
it was
wow.
a good suggestion.
no, my question is we don't have a bond, so we'll take a bond this year, but we won't have to pay a bond before January of 2025, it'll be, our first payment on that bond will be in 26, correct?
Right, we'll pay interest in
Okay.
2025. Yes,
And that first payment would be in.
right,
26.
in 26, correct.
Okay,
But if we do this, we won't have to bond.
no, we still have to.
Yeah, we still have to bond, but you're on that 3-year rotation, so we would be pulling our money out for paving next year. So we're looking ahead, so we're starting to fund that reserve account, so in 3 years, when we're ready to pave again, we've got money in reserve, so it reduces what we have to bond.
Gotcha.
So it
Good.
saves some interest and, right? That's my thought.
I would make a motion to raise and appropriate 300,000 for looking down the road.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor? 4, 2 absent. And the next 2 we did already, and then the senior tax program. That's $25,000. And I'll make that motion to raise and appropriate that from tax. Let me think about this. Would that be one that we could take out of the general fund?
You could,
Where
certainly,
it's a,
yeah, it's not a huge amount.
right, and it's a circuit breaker thing for tax, for taxes.
It's to help seniors, yeah,
Right.
70 and older,
Ugh.
if it will become an ordinance.
Right,
We're working on it at the select board level and, yeah, so.
so I'll,
Should we exclude ourselves because we're older?
no, on that one, because it's not, we're just appropriating the money, saying yay and nay to the monies.
Okay.
So I'm gonna make a motion on this one that we appropriate $25,000 from the general fund
Mhm.
for this capital reserve, for the
Instead
senior
of
tax program, instead of raising and appropriating.
raising the taxes.
Yeah, because this may be a $25,000 capital reserve that we're starting, we may not use that much every year. And it's coming out of the general fund, so that's money that we've already raised and appropriated from taxes. So this would, in my eyes, I'm just thinking in my head, is you're taking that tax dollars and using it to help somebody.
So what is that money used for, really?
It's tax
So
relief.
the way the ordinance would read, or the thought process behind it maybe, if a resident 70 years of age or older is a resident in the town of Belgrade, has been a resident, I think it's 10 years,
10
has a
years.
homestead exemption on their property. They have applied and received the property tax fairness credit from the state of Maine. Then they qualify for additional help, which would be at the town level.
I see.
And they would receive a percentage of what they got from the state. So if they qualify at the state level, they qualify with us. And then they would get an additional help in the form of a rebate, a percentage of that property tax fairness credit from the state. So I've been able to get a hold of the state, ask them how many applications they processed for Belgrade.
Right,
And I didn't think of it, but it came to me that maybe what they gave me for a figure included all age ranges, which it did.
oh,
So I said, can you, or do you have a way to tell me how many are 70 and older?
right,
And they were able to do that. So what we originally thought might be fairly expensive has been reduced quite a bit. But you're still helping those who are in the most need. Yeah. And it also, that ordinance would also, it combines our current senior work policy, if you will, which is very outdated. I believe it was written in 2010. So some of the references and language in it no longer exist. It references programs at the state level, like the circuit breaker tax program, which is no longer in existence. So that would be added to this new ordinance, so it makes it very comprehensive. And I believe the board said they would like to see up to 4 people benefit from actually volunteering, working for the town, up to $500 each. So that would be something that would go to help them with their tax burden as well, their tax bill. So 2 different ways to help those in the most need in our community, older people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are quite a few municipalities who have something like that.
Or in the process, like.
Yeah, or are in the process, yeah,
And the legislature,
because there is a real need.
and the legislature too.
Yeah.
They did that program for a year and then they overturned it. Cause
Oh, it was so expensive.
well, and the towns had a hard time figuring it all out. It
Yeah,
was-
we had,
Convoluted.
I think we had over 400 applications here,
Wow,
significant.
yeah,
Yeah,
we were one of them, I think.
yeah, I don't know, but.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
We had a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other,
Saved it and then the next year it was gone.
right, any other discussion on it? If not, all in favor?
Made the motion was made.
Yeah.
Second.
We had a motion, but I didn't have a
We
second.
didn't have.
second.
Oh, Sarah did. Okay, sorry. Yep.
4,
okay,
2 absent.
got it.
When is the reval gonna have to be done?
Yeah.
So, speaking with Rob, he is looking, or we've discussed it a few times, because we just did the factoring, but that only carries you for so long.
Like 3 years or something like that.
So at some point, we will want to do a reval, which can be expensive to do a full reval. So this would simply start putting money into a reserve account, so at the point that we need to do the reval, it can be funded from the reserve account. It's not a large sum we would ask voters for in 1 year, and we wouldn't need to borrow for it.
Do we have any in reserve right now for that?
For that
So this is
purpose,
new.
no, that would be new,
Do we have an
trying to plan ahead.
estimated cost?
I would say probably around 400 or more,
Thought that, I thought that number sounded right, I was gonna say,
yeah. Yeah.
When do you?
So a
expect
little
we're
bit
gonna
at a
have to
time.
Reval again?
I would say 2026, 2027.
yeah, he said 3, we'd be do good. When he did the factor eval, he said we would do good if that lasted 3 years.
Okay.
So I mean, you can imagine if we said, oh my gosh, we gotta do a reval, we need $500,000,
Oh.
right? And you think of that all in 1 year, all at once, that's a little much.
Yeah.
So even if we didn't do 200,000, I feel we should put something in and start.
I
building.
feel we should do something, I will. I will make a motion for the 200,000, this will give a place for the board to cut something if they want to raise and appropriate from tax dollars.
I'll second.
Any other discussion on that? If no, all in favor?
Sarah's trying to see. Sarah,
Yeah,
we're voting.
yeah. Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
4, 2 absent. Anything back from Korea?
Oh. Let's see. 17,000 for a ramp at the North Belgrade Community Center, roof repair at the sand and salt shed. Stuff along that lines, paving and drainage, sorry. At the North Belgrade Fire Station, new front door at North Belgrade Community Center. So he has quite a laundry list of things that do need to be done is,
That's what I
and so
figured.
that's where he came
Okay.
up with that, yeah.
Thank you,
So
Forrest.
make sure we have that list for the select board meeting.
yes, please.
So I'll make a motion to, raise and appropriate $100,000 to go into the facility
Capital.
capital.
And you didn't wanna, yeah, I've got that you wanted to drop it to 30, but you're gonna leave it at 100
Yeah,
across
yeah.
that line.
Yeah, for that
gotcha.
list.
Okay, yeah.
Any other discussion on it?
Who seconded?
Nobody did, yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Yep.
4-4, 2 absent. Anything else that,
I don't have anything. Nope.
so you. We doing all our budget meetings, basically regular select board meetings or? No, any regular select board meetings, is it?
No, we have the select board is meeting the eighteenth, which you're
Yeah.
invited. Of course, I think you came, the budget committee came last year.
Yeah,
So the eighteenth, they've set two meetings, the eighteenth and the 26th.
and you will
So-
send out a reminder.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes,
There was a couple questions about the start time on the.
yes, I don't have that nailed down yet, but I will.
What's
I'll
the,
send a reminder out.
what's the rough start time you think, so I can?
Well,
my calendar?
we had originally discussed it at the select board meeting for 6 o'clock, but there was. I'm not sure, it will be 6, it may be 6:30, I'll nail that down, confirm it, and then I'll send a reminder out to all of you.
Great.
Okay,
Quick question.
Motion.
I have minutes for the first meeting. So, but we don't have a quorum to vote on it.
yes, you know, we have 4.
No,
4 out of
but
6.
John wasn't here for
Oh,
the first meeting.
so no,
So at least I will give you the copies. So that's for the first meeting. My printer jammed.
oh, no.
That's why I
You need
got
to make
right here.
copies, or-
Huh?
Did yours stop whining today?
Yes.
Oh my God. We had a quick power like out and then on in her printer. She unplugged it, but it was,
Screaming.
it was, no power.
So probably was the same thing that happened with mine.
I'm like, oh, I've never seen that.
So,
It was crazy.
I got a couple of questions for you.
Yes.
I just thought of this. With our emails going through today on the fire station. Do we have a building permit for the garage? Addition, and has that gone through the planning board?
I would assume that he does. I know I'm sure he's been in contact with Hans. I'll ask him right now.
Cause I don't think it's been in front of the planning board.
And it may not have had to, I don't know
I
that.
think it does because it's considered a commercial building.
Oh, also, he said the roof repair at the salt shed was 29,000 for an estimate in 2022.
Yeah. You got that, well, our part of it, you got that. Once we figured out what we needed it.
So we'll approve these minutes next time.
Probably at that 18,
Nope,
And then I will have ready today's and the other two.
right? So we'll probably. Approve our minutes at the beginning of that meeting.
So we have an adjourn,
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
And do I have a second?
Second,
Oh.
John.
All in favor?
Or,
just as long as somebody does.
you know, like,